Hello everybody, my name is Matt. Welcome back to another Monster Hunter lore video. Today I want to be talking a little bit about the religions that we see in Monster Hunter, and also kind of how the world was essentially created, because we do have, I believe, about two things that state how the world of Monster Hunter had come to be. One of them being in World, and one of them being in 4 Ultimate. In the world of Monster Hunter, we don't really have much in the way of religion. There's only really like one true actual religion that's been stated, and then one that's kind of, it's more of like a creation theory on the whole world, but you can kind of spin it into its own religion. So there's not really much of religion to go with in the world of Monster Hunter, but you know, I think it's kind of fun to talk about it, so hell, let's do it. So the first and only really religion that we get to see throughout Monster Hunter is the basically Dalamadur cult. It's basically these people that worship a giant serpent called the Dalamadur. They kind of think that Dalamadur is basically God. It is the creator of this whole world. It's said to have carved the mountains and the landscape with its body because of the giant spikes, and mainly because they fear it. Instead of actually going after it and hunting it down and stuff like that, they actually resorted to worshipping it because they feared it so much. It's such a colossal monster. It's literally like 4 times the size of Godzilla. It is absolutely gigantic, and yeah, I would say it's pretty godlike. So through these people, probably not a ton of people, but still, through these people, they've created a religion or a cult that basically worships this giant snake emperor kind of god thing. Not really emperor, but basically a giant snake god called Dalamadur, even Shah Dalamadur. We don't know exactly which one. I believe the weapon descriptions that explain this cult are from the Shah Dalamadur, but I think that's mainly because of Shah Dalamadur is essentially a shedded skin version of a normal Dalamadur. Its scales are much softer because it just shed its scales, and it's a lot more aggressive because it's damn hungry. Just shedded its skin, feels kind of vulnerable, and I mean, in general, it kind of looks more like a god than normal Dalamadur. Sure, it's the same size, maybe a little bit bigger since it shed its skin, but instead of being like a blue and black, it's got like a little more like a lighter blue. It's got some reds, some whites, some blacks. It's basically just a more powerful shedded skin version of the normal Dalamadur, which is probably why the weapon descriptions for Shah Dalamadur are talking about this cult and saying that this thing was worshipped as God. So basically, Dalamadur is basically known for carving out mountains with its body. It has giant spikes protruding from its back, from its belly, basically all around its body. And as it slithers around, it carves mountains. And the only place that we know of its existence was in 4 Ultimate, and it was on a spear-tipped crag, which it carved out of a mountain and basically made its home there. It's still unknown if that same Dalamadur was the one that this cult was worshipping, or if it was a completely different one, but who knows? It might be, it might not be. We still have the potential that we actually have killed a literal god. I mean, we kind of already have with Fatalis. I'll get into Fatalis in a whole nother video later on, but yeah. But yeah, the short end of the stick cult worships Delamater because they fear it so much that they resorted to worshipping it, and they made weapons out of, or at least we think they've made weapons out of its shedded skin, because mainly, or most likely, it was a Shah Delamater, so they could have gotten some of the materials for the weapons and armor from the shedded skin of the Delamater, and, you know, use those to worship, use those to signify that they were in this cult, and be more closer to their god. Now, the second religion / creation theory in Monster Hunter comes from Monster Hunter World and Iceborne. Basically, it's a book that you can find in the Chamber of the Five, and also in your private suite house if you get up to, the end game. Basically, you can go to your bedside table, you can read the book there. Yeah. But basically what's written in this book is or at least one of the main leading creation theories. Since we haven't really had many creation theories, it's one of the only ones that we can really go on, so take it as you will. So this book kind of talks about the very, very, very beginning of the world. It basically states that the world was basically a endless white void with only a sun, 5 dragons, and some people. So basically one of these men was kind of wondering why their world was so empty, or why there was basically nothing in there except for them, the dragons, and the sun. So he went up to the 5 dragons and he asked basically, yo, what up? What's with this endless white void? Why isn't there like anything here? And instead of responding, the dragons just kind of opened their mouths and spilled water out, basically throwing up an ocean, and they swam away into the unknown. So basically, after swimming for a while, they essentially turned into their own island. One of them sank into the sea and became the land. One of them lifted its gaze to the sky and became the mountains. One of them stooped low and became the lakes and scattered its scales to create the rain. One of them fell asleep into a deep slumber and became the forests. And then the last one basically flew way up into the sky and became a sapphire star, which the commission that you're a part of in World and Iceborne is basically named after. Now that there was an ocean and the dragons swam away and created their own place, the man that asked them, yo, what up, basically why, he decided to somehow made a boat. I'm not sure how. In the book, it literally says the dude donned a simple cloak and climbed into a simple boat. Which, how? They literally just created an ocean. There wasn't any, like, trees or anything to make a boat out of, but I don't know, that's a whole nother thing. It's just confusing. I don't know. No real logical explanation, so let's just go with it. So he sails to this new world. And he goes up to the dragons and basically asks, why did you do this? But once again, they didn't really respond. They gave him 5 scales, 1 from each dragon, for the mankind to basically create their own world, just basically how they wanted it. And that world later became the old world from the older games like Generations Ultimate, 4 Ultimate, 3 Ultimate, all of those. So then the man returned home, returned back to the other people, and they asked him, hey, did you speak to the dragons? But just like the dragons, he didn't say anything, and he gave them the scales. Basically, they used the scales to create the old world, which, I mean, should be called the new world because it's newer than the other one, but whatever. But they created, you know, basically the same thing: the lakes, rain, forests, mountains, and instead of a sapphire star, they created a moon to accompany the sun, so that there would be a day and a night, and also to accompany the sapphire star. And basically the sapphire star is a guiding light to the new world. Basically it's kind of like the North Star. If you follow it, you'll go north. If you follow the sapphire star, you'll find the new world. So as time passed, the memory of what happened back then with all that whole thing that I just said has kind of been, you know, mistranslated, misremembered. So what, you know, I basically just told you what the book has been telling us. Maybe a little bit different to what actually happened, just because it was so long ago. There's bound to be some miscommunication, stuff like that. So take it with a grain of salt. It is a creation theory that Capcom has given us. So who knows if it's real or not? Who knows how much of it's real? Who knows if it's just completely fake and they're like, hey, here's a thing, why not? Also, as a side note, the men, or at least most of the people in that creation theory who created the old world were most likely Shrade people, which I'll get to in a later video with Fatalis. There's a whole thing about like a Great Wyvern War and basically humankind basically getting fucked over and completely wiped out because of Fatalis. Fatalis is basically a god, and Fatalis isn't even his actual name, and there's just a whole lot going on there. But yeah, that's basically it for creation theories. So yeah, if you like what you see, you can hit the subscribe button, and you can also hit the bell icon to get notified whenever we upload. Just remember to, if you want to get all of the notifications, you'll have to click on it again, or I don't know if it, I don't remember, but you'll have to click all notifications because by default it's set to sometimes, which is kind of stupid. Thank you, YouTube, but it's whatever. So with that being said, for all things Elder Scrolls and Monster Hunter, we've got you covered. This means gameplay, lore, and much, much more. I hope we cross paths again, Hunter. Happy hunting.